Hi everyone, my name is Elena and welcome back to my channel, Speak Crime to Me. Today, as promised, I'm going to give daily updates on what is happening with the Alec Murdaugh case. So today is technically day 2. They did start jury selection on Monday, but yesterday was opening statements by the defense and the prosecution. Today we did hear from some witnesses on the prosecution's witness list, so I'm just gonna let you know what happened. So let's jump right in. I will say today was a rather boring day of testimony. I feel like in every case, the first day or two is very just really laying the groundwork about the crime and the case. So today we heard from a ton of officers, police officers. We heard from a fire chief. We heard from a couple of 911 operators. But basically it was just the investigators and the police that were first to arrive on scene, as well as the fire chief that I mentioned, and then the couple of 911 operators that took the call, and that was basically it. They did get through quite a few witnesses. I want to say maybe like 7. Alec's demeanor today. He was visibly upset, I would say, most of the day, definitely shedding some tears when the camera would be put on him. Today, they did see quite a bit of crime scene footage, video, and pictures. So obviously some pretty hard photos for everyone to see. They did not show those to the public, but you could tell that Alec's defense team would cover the monitor when they would show like pictures of Paul or Maggie. I would say on and off, he was very emotional depending on who was on the stand and what they were talking about. So they started off with one of the first police sergeants that arrived at the scene. One of the things they did with him is they showed a gun. It wasn't the gun that was used to kill Paul or Maggie, but yesterday I did mention that there was these 3 guns that were mentioned, and so this was the one gun that was found, and the 2 other guns are still, they haven't been located yet. So they did, they had it in a box, and they showed the jury and the audience what the gun looked like. So I would say a couple of interesting points just to point out. The defense really was trying to tackle down that the crime scene was not preserved. The defense just kept on hammering into every witness that that you guys did not preserve the crime scene, evidence was tainted. Just that was their main focus today, to really put doubt on the crime scene. I don't feel like, for me personally, I don't think that they did a great job of convincing us of that. I will say, I don't think any crime scene is perfect. This is a small town, but there wasn't anything major that the defense really pointed out where the investigators did not do a good job of preserving the scene and the evidence. Another thing that kept on coming up quite a bit, and at first I didn't really realize what they were getting at, was apparently there was a lot of water, especially around Paul's body, as well as blood. So at first I'm like, where are they going with this? Because they were saying, was it raining out? And it was getting ready to storm that night, but the police officers, investigator said the amount of water around Paul couldn't have been rain. So again, I was trying to piece it together, like, where are they going with this? I think what the prosecution was alluding to was that someone was trying to clean up the scene. And then the defense kept on saying that the water was from the kennels. One time they pointed out like a bucket of water. This was just really trying to point out that it was because of the dogs and the kennel, and that's why there was so much water. One of the police officers did testify that he didn't see any hoses or anything like that. So that was very interesting because the water thing came up quite a bit along with the crime scene evidence. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see really where they go with that. But I'm guessing that they're thinking that the prosecution is trying to say that someone was trying to clean something up. And then I think the defense was saying, no, it was all the dogs and the dog kennels and the dog water and things like that. Another thing that was interesting that was mentioned was apparently there was a theory out there at one point that Paul shot his mother and then shot himself. Again, they debunked that, but apparently at one point that was a theory that was going around. So when Paul Murdaugh made the 911 call, at some point he tells the operator that his son Paul was in a boating accident and that he had been receiving threats and had been beaten up and things like that. I thought that was just very interesting to even talk about when you're reporting your wife and son you found them just murdered. That would be something I would think that you would want to talk to investigators about later on. So that was very interesting. I believe when one of the first police officers arrived on scene, he also talked about this. So again, I found that a little bit strange that you would be talking about that. Another thing that one of the witnesses said, one of the investigators, was that when police started really looking at tire tracks and footprints in and around the house, that Alex's demeanor changed a little bit, more like he was trying to follow them and see what they were doing. But other than that, he was, visibly upset almost all of the time. The last witness that was on the stand today pointed out one thing that he thought was strange, just given his past experience. On the 911 call, you can tell Alec is very visibly upset, sounds very traumatized. But at some point, he tells the 911 operator, I need to go back to the main house and get a gun. And then the operator's trying to tell him, no, don't do that. If a police officer sees you with the gun. And then after that, he tells the operator, I need to call my family, and he hangs up the phone. And this witness was just saying that it was a little strange how he was like crying and distraught, saying he feels unsafe, he needs to get a gun, and then like this, he's like, I need to call my family and hang up. There were a couple of witnesses that I feel like were completely irrelevant. Sometimes the defense didn't even cross-examine them. Again, I think that the prosecution was really just trying to start laying the foundation of who arrived at the scene, the 911 case, and trying to piece it all together. So it will be interesting to see tomorrow what direction the case goes. And of course, I will be watching and I will update you then. So as always, leave any comments, thoughts, questions below. Thank you all for tuning in to get the quick update on the second day of the Murdaugh trial, and until tomorrow. Thank you all again for joining me here on Speak Crime to Me and hearing the update on the second day of the Murdaugh trial, and I will be back tomorrow.